Greetings, entrepreneurs. This is the section on the Prophetic News channel that we now talk to business people. God has called me to raise entrepreneurs and leaders as well. And as much as I'm a minister of the gospel, as much as I flow in the prophetic ministry, I'm also an entrepreneur, what you would call a serial entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. I'm also a business coach. So I coach, I consult, and do all of those things. So I have decided that I needed to also do business coaching. Right, so for the next 20 minutes, I just want to share some insights on various aspects of business. This would be my second one. The first one that I did was called the ABCs of starting a business successfully and inexpensively. So you can check it out under this series of business coaching. All right, but today I want to speak about something that is very, very relevant to the society that we are in right now as a business person. I'm speaking to you from Johannesburg, South Africa. All right, so a lot of the examples I'm going to be using are obviously tailored for South Africa, but they apply anywhere else, right? So I'm going to talk about 12 factors to consider before selling online. All right, that's your e-commerce industry right there. 12 factors to consider before selling online. Now, a lot of people want to do online selling and so forth. I mean, I've had quite a number of inquiries and I've coached some people on how to start. My business, my core business is e-commerce itself. I've been doing this for 5 years, so I consider myself to be fairly knowledgeable, and I listen a lot, I read a lot about e-commerce and so forth. So I've got experience, I've got the knowledge and so forth. So now I want to impart what I know, okay? But the main thing I wanted to say is that a lot of people want to start e-commerce. They want to sell, they want to make an income, they want a side hustle and so forth, right? But they've got no idea how to go about it. Now, the beauty of e-commerce is that usually it's relatively inexpensive to start that business, okay? It's relatively inexpensive to start that business. However, that does not mean that it's an easy business to run, okay? The barriers of entry into e-commerce are very low, but staying in that business takes guts. It takes courage, it takes a lot of wisdom, a lot of intelligence and research and that kind of thing. You have to be determined to make it. It's not an easy business, I'll tell you from the get-go. Or maybe I should say, if you are going to try and scale it to a certain level, then it becomes maybe more difficult. But if it's just for sustenance, you want to make a little bit money on the side, it is an excellent way to earn money. So let's look at that. Now, the first thing that you need to understand is that e-commerce is big. Okay, that's point number one. I said 12 factors to consider before selling online. E-commerce is big. This is one of the fastest growing industries in the world, particularly here in Africa. All right. Now, I've got some statistics here. So the market value of South Africa's e-commerce market in 2023 was estimated at 124 billion. Okay. 124 billion rand. Okay, that's probably that's probably around 800 or so million, right? Or billion dollars, I don't know, as of 2023, and it is expected to grow at a significant compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of more than 14.8% over the forecast period of 2023 to 2030. So we have an industry in 2023 which is already worth 124 billion, okay, and over the next 7 years, from 2023 to 2030, it was expected to grow at 14.8%. Can you imagine that? So that tells you that this is a seriously big industry. All right. Now, South Africa, as of 2023, again, had 32.5 million e-commerce users. All right, 32.5 million e-commerce users, with an additional 6.38 million users expected to be shopping online by 2024. So as we speak now, it is very likely that we now have 40 million. We now have 40 million e-commerce shoppers. All right, so this simply means that the potential to grow a successful online business is tremendous if you can diligently apply yourself to master the process. So this is just a picture of how big the industry is. 124 billion rand, which is probably equivalent to about $6 billion, growing at a growth rate of almost 15% over the next 7 years, 40 million shoppers as of now. You know, this is really, really big. Now, listen to this. Takealot's annual revenue in 2019 was almost 7 billion rand. Okay, that was in 2019. But by 2022, it reported almost 17 billion rand in revenue. All right, that is almost 3 times just in a period of 3 years. All right, so in November 2023, Takealot had 17.5 million visits worldwide, with over 90% of those visits in South Africa. What am I saying? You need to understand the size of the market you are entering. It is a big market. It is a really, really big market. Okay, so maybe if in 2023 it was worth 124 billion or about $6 billion, then probably by now it's a $10 billion industry in South Africa. All right. Right. So number 2, the next thing that you need to understand, having had an appreciation of how big this market is, well, by the way, that is not enough. You need to now use that. This is information, this is data, but knowledge is not important. What is not enough? What you now need is wisdom. So data gives you knowledge, knowledge gives you wisdom, which is application, practical application of that knowledge to take advantage of it and profit from it. Okay, so that is what wisdom is. So number 2, now let us say that you are saying, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this. So the second thing you need to do is you need to have good, reliable suppliers. Find good, reliable suppliers in whatever category you are deciding that you want to function, whether it's clothes, whether it's shoes, whether it's furniture, whether it's gadgets, food, whatever. Just make sure that you have got reliable suppliers. Why is this important? Because when you start to service your customers, you have to give them exactly what they want, and you need to be growing your customer base. They must know that if we want A, B, C, we go to you. Okay, but if you're cutting and pasting and changing all the time, and you used to sell this, you don't sell it, you're changing industry and so forth, a rolling stone, as they say, does not gather moss. Okay, it does not gather moss. So you need to be known to say, this is what you are known for. Okay, now we specialize in household appliances. That's what we do. We just sell anything to do with your day-to-day living, and anybody who comes to our site is looking usually for things that you use every day, gadgets and appliances and that kind of thing, right? So it is important to have good and reliable suppliers, right? Ensure that you can source your product with relative ease, as customers are very fussy about their orders, right? If you're not able to supply customers with the exact items ordered, you will experience a lot of returns, which will result in you sitting with a lot of stock. So your cash flow will be tied, your cash will be tied in those returns. You can go out of business if you don't manage that. So don't send the wrong things to customers. Send what they want, right? What they ordered, so that you don't have a problem of return. So that's number 2. Now let's go on. Have at least 3 suppliers for each product you sell to reduce your dependence on any single supplier. This is called risk mitigation, and you do your risk mitigation by weakening supplier power. Okay, you don't have one supplier who's got a lot of power over you. They can just unilaterally lift their prices or decide, I don't want to deal with you anymore, and then you are back to square one. But if you've got 3 suppliers, you can negotiate prices. If this one doesn't have, you can go to the next one and so forth. So that is the reason why you must have good suppliers, at least 3 per product. Number 3, learn to make use of third-party platforms, especially when you are just starting out, before you have the muscle or the time to be running and developing your own market and your own website and all of those things. Make use of third-party suppliers. So third-party platforms. Third-party platforms are platforms like Amazon and Leroy Merlin and Takealot and Makro and Bob Shop. There are a lot of them, Alibaba and Temu and all of those guys, where you can go and sell your products, right? They are not your platforms, but they welcome people to sell their products on their platforms, and they get a commission for it. Okay, so the advantage of these third-party platforms is that you automatically walk into a serious market, captive market for that platform, right? For example, people who buy at Makro, the moment they see a Makro advert, they are likely to look at it on their phone. If they want to buy something, they are likely to go to Makro, and then guess whose product is displayed there? It's your product. So overnight, you can start making a lot of sales, right? Particularly if the things that you are selling have got a high demand. Okay, so one of the quickest and easiest ways to start selling online is just to make use of existing platforms that have already invested in growing their customer base over many years. All right, so you don't need to struggle from your early days, right? You can list your products on these platforms in return for commissions charged, which means your pricing must be very smart. So whatever you do, add your profits and everything, then on top of that, add their commission, all right? And also add fulfillment fees. In other words, delivery charges, logistics, courier fees, and all of that. So you must be very smart about this. Okay, so the easiest of these would be your Facebook Marketplace. I started on Facebook myself. It doesn't really cost you anything. You just go on Facebook Marketplace. I've got this that I'm selling and so forth. Then from there, you probably go to Facebook Business. From there, you can then join these other platforms like Takealot and Makro. Their requirements are on their websites, but it's not very difficult to register. Okay. So these platforms have the potential to scale your business tremendously, especially over the medium term. You walk into a captive market as opposed to starting with one person, two people, and so forth. That's a lot of work. Okay. Number 4, understand the fees associated with third-party platforms. This is critical. This is critical. A lot of people have lost their businesses because of failing to understand the fees associated with third-party platforms. There was a time when I started selling on Takealot when we would do massive sales, volumes every day. We're busy, but we're not getting the money. I couldn't see the money. My bank balance was going lower and lower, and I was wondering what's going on until I realized that I hadn't worked out all their costs well. Okay, so it's so important that you understand the fees associated with third-party platforms. So this is very big. It's a very big consideration because you can actually lose money if you do not carry out adequate research on the commission structures of each of these platforms. My observation has been that including fulfillment fees, that's your logistics or courier, right, allow for up to 25% of your gross sales value, right? 25% commission fees on your product price. It can be as low as 15%, but it is highly advisable to take the upper limit just to be on the safe side. So basically, if you are selling something for 1,000 Rand, budget that 250 to 300 Rand of that is going towards Makro or towards Takealot or Leroy Merlin. Okay, that is how you can stay safe. I mean, we've been through this, so I'll just give you the figures because we iterated so many times with this. So I'll give you all these figures. Okay, so understand the fees associated with third-party platforms and ideally add 25% to 30%, okay, markup just for your fees. All right, this money is not coming to you. Number 5, you must have a clear returns management strategy. The ban of e-commerce, the ban of online shopping is returns. Returns. We have a high level of buyer's remorse. Remember that in South Africa, a customer can return anything for up to 6 months, provided they can prove that it was defaulted. Like there's a default, there's a factory default, right? It's difficult to now prove to customers that it's not actually a factory default. It's just your way of misusing it. Okay. So the best thing you want to do here is you need to have a clear returns management strategy. Plan for them. Don't wish them away. Plan for them. Okay. Work it into your pricing, right? So the ban of online selling is returns. Every platform you operate on, no matter how efficient, will always give you returns because customers change their minds all the time. Sometimes they get broke. They have an emergency. They need to go on a trip. They want to go out. Then they think, oh, I've got this 7,000 Rand laptop and I can do without it. When I bought it, I was excited money. Now, if I return it within 2 days, I've got 7,000 Rand in my account. What do you think they're going to do? All right. So you need to plan for returns. Okay. You therefore need to make sure that your photos are very clear and the descriptions as detailed as possible so that you reduce buyer's remorse. The problem with returns is that they may sit in your warehouse for a long time while you struggle to fulfill new orders. Why? That's your cash tied there. Okay. Right. So so that means your returns policy must be very clear on your website so that when customers return their purchase, they will know what to expect. For instance, if you supply the correct product and your customer just changes their mind after the product has been shipped, you can charge a 10% handling fee. And this must be clearly stated in your website. Why? Because it will discourage chances, opportunities, but at the same time, if they decide to go ahead and return, at least you get 10%, all right, to cover your other charges, your handling charges like transport and so forth. Now, number 6, understand the operations of the third-party platforms. We are back to the third-party platforms. You need to understand how they work. This is so critical. Abundant time must be invested in researching and understanding both the strengths and challenges of each platform. All right. So Takealot has got its own challenges and strengths. Macro likewise, Leroy Merlin likewise. All these guys, each one, some of them have got too much control. Some of them give you leeway, but they don't have as much sales. Okay, so you must understand the operations of the platform that you want to sell on. Every platform is different, and you must know the one that's best suited for you. Okay, personally, I sell across all these platforms. I mean, I sell across them. I've learned. It's a lot of work, but I think we have mastered them, each one of them. It took us years, but we finally understood it. Okay, so you need to choose even one. You don't have to sell on every one of them. Choose one. It just depends on what you're trying to do and the scale that you're trying to build. So the best way to also learn quickly is to jump straight in after adequate research and refine your strategy as you go along. I always say the first thing that you need to do is to start. Otherwise, if you keep on analyzing, you will end up having what is called paralysis. You end up having analysis paralysis. Your analysis will paralyze you and you won't do anything. So jump in there once you know enough to get the job done. Then everything else, accept the fact that you're going to learn along the way and you're going to make mistakes. Okay, right. So if one platform doesn't work for you, pivot to another until you find one that works, but again, conduct adequate research. Okay, now number 7, use a mix of platforms. So with time, start to add more platforms. Why? Because platforms tend to suspend accounts without asking for your consent and everything. You can be suspended on Takealot for 2 weeks, for a week, for a month. We were once suspended for 1.5 months. And I had so many bills, and at that time we were relying only on Takealot. So from there, I then started to explore other platforms, and now we've got 7 of them, including 2 that I built, all right? Our own in-house platforms that we are also actively growing. Why? Because you are mitigating against the risk. This is called buyer power. These guys buy from you. They buy your products in the sense of they allow you to market your products on their platforms. But if you've got one, that one has got too much buyer power over you. It means that they can decide to chase you out, to suspend you, and you can find yourself in serious financial trouble. So it's wise to use a mix of platforms. Start with 1, add 2, or maybe 3 can be the maximum for some people, even 2. But whatever you do, don't stay with only one platform, because you are a sitting duck. You are a sitting duck. There's an e-commerce platform which was called Zastra, and I tried to sell on it. But as I was just getting ready to sell on it, I discovered that they had gone down. Now, if all your business was on Zastra, imagine what was going to happen. All right. There was also another one called Bid or Buy. Where is Bid or Buy today? It's now known as the I think it's called Bob Shop or something. I've heard people saying that it has never fully recovered. Right. It was at the forefront of this e-commerce industry in South Africa, but right now it's just an ordinary player. So use a mix of platforms, including your own. Invest over time in building your own. Now, number 8, beware of scammers. So there's a growing risk of scammers online, particularly with things like Facebook Marketplace, where they'll say, I want this and that. And then when you get there to deliver, because they'll say cash on delivery, they rob you. I was robbed once that way when I was still starting e-commerce, in my e-commerce journey on Facebook. That was in 2020, it happened to me. I mean, we had 2 big TVs that I was delivering, and when I walked in there, I realized I walked into a trap. So I allowed them to take what they wanted, and then I drove away with my life. Okay, so never, if you are selling via Facebook Marketplace, by all means avoid cash on delivery. Let them pay you first, because scammers hate paying. They don't like to pay. So if someone pays you, or is willing to pay you or to meet you in a public place or something like that, chances are okay, there's a fair chance that they're not scammers. But particularly if they pay, then this is a legitimate customer. Then you dispatch your goods. Okay. And this happened in Sandton. Some of these things happen in areas like Sandton, which are affluent. You would think, people from Sandton don't do it. No, they know that you think that way. So they will stage their crime in an area where you least expect people of their type to be. Okay, right. So it's important to beware of scammers. Beware of scammers. Okay. Now, when it comes to third-party platforms, some customers order your goods for occasions, use them, and then return them, in some cases damaged, because they know they can get away with it if the platform you use does not have a strict returns policy. So you need to factor these kinds of losses into your pricing model. Okay. Number 9, you need to price right. I've talked about this already. Price right. Your pricing is everything. This is where the rubber meets the road. In e-commerce, there are so many moving parts that if you are not careful, you will lose money very easily. So let me save you the trouble. Golden rule. This is through years of blood, sweat, and tears. Golden rule: when using third-party platforms, use cost times 2 at the very least, but you can go as high as cost times 3. I have now gravitated to cost times 3 because there are so many things that can go wrong. So many things that can go wrong. So be as expensive as possible, yet competitive. Good luck trying to balance that out, right? But that's how e-commerce works. Cost times 3. If you can't do 3, between 2.5 but absolute lowest times 2. Okay, there are too many moving parts that you're not even aware of. All right. So if you can still sell the product, use cost times 3. All right. This will cover you for commissions, fulfillment fees, returns, and even scams. All right. If you are running your own platform, you can even go as low as cost times 1.4, but bear in mind that you will still need to add delivery fees. Okay. So there I've given it you for free. It cost me 5 years to figure this out. Right. Number 10, invest in your own platform. So over time now, your ultimate goal must always be to have your own captive market. Now, this is very difficult. It is very difficult because customers are picky, they're finicky. You have to be invested in terms of your customer service. You have to be excellent. You must ship orders on time. You must follow up on returns. You must process refunds quickly. You must process, replacements very quickly. And if you don't do those kinds of things, you start to lose customers rapidly. I had a very funny customer that she was very desperate. She wanted to get a refund, but I wasn't getting to do it fast enough. And she would say, please do this, please do it. And I would say, okay, I'll do it, and so forth. That's what I learned, that you can't just do that. Have a system in place. Then one day I woke up and I was checking my WhatsApp, and I saw she had written to me, so I opened that, and there was just one phrase there: I command you in the name of Jesus to give me my refund. So that was very, very funny, because I felt an urgency to now make sure that, I refund. I mean, being a pastor, you're in ministry now. Someone is now commanding you in the name of Jesus to refund you. So that was really funny, but it just shows you how customers feel about things like refunds and getting wonderful service. Some can threaten you with the law, others can threaten you with black magic, with witchcraft. I've experienced all these things. So you must invest in your own platform, and the primary way to do it is serve your customers very well. Number 11, now remember, be patient. Be patient. Remember to have a long-term view as you build your business. Invest in the process more than in trying to get money from the get-go. Okay? If you are trying to get money too quickly, you'll be burned, you'll lose all your money. But if you are investing in your business bit by bit, learning and so forth, and allowing the business to grow, you're probably gonna build something that will look after you for a very long time to come, right? Invest in the process more than in trying to get money from the get-go. There will be challenges along the way, and you might need to refine your business model countless times, but avoid yielding to the temptation to quit. Iteration is the key. You must have iterations. You must have iteration. You must always change your model if it is not working. Now, quitters will never enjoy glory. Rather, change tactics, but your goal must remain to run a profitable and sustainable online business. Okay, so be patient, change tactics, change what you need to change, but always remember, be focused. Let your tactics change, but your goal must remain the same, okay, to run a profitable and sustainable online business. Now, number 12, the last one, you must be a master. You must master the art of fundraising. Master the art of fundraising. You must be a master at fundraising. You will inevitably make mistakes that will lose you money, and so at some point it will become necessary to inject more funds into the business. Okay, even if you do everything right, you still need to fund the scaling of your business, as you will need more stock, personnel, and equipment to handle the growth. This usually happens if you have steadily built your business model and your customer base. Okay, so various options are available, including bank overdrafts, credit cards, or even the sale of shares. But I would advise you to go for the option that charges the least interest. That's a discussion for another day. One day I'll talk about funding options and so forth. Okay, so there you have it. You need to master the art of fundraising. Sometimes businesses fail not because the model is bad, but because they run out of money. They run out of money. If you run out of cash, no matter how good your idea is, it's not going to succeed. So you also need to not just be passionate about your idea, but also about how to sustain it and to support it long enough for it to start giving you returns. So these are my thoughts on starting an e-commerce business. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section, and I'm going to attend to them when either in the comments themselves or as part of my next episode. So I hope that you go out there, you do well. If you need any help, reach out. You can just inbox me or leave a comment, and I'll be in touch with you. All right. But I wish you all the best as you go on your journey to start your e-commerce business. Remember, just start. Just start. Those are the magic words. Right. Till we meet again, God bless you and all the best with your selling.